We're recording. Hi. It's been a little while since we've had a chat. I've had quite a long sabbatical, and this video has been weighing on my mind. And apparently now is the moment to share it. I grew up Mormon, which the correct label is Latter-day Saint, and I have been out of the church for almost a decade now, and I've had quite an interesting year in terms of spirituality, and I wanted to share some of the things that I've learned in my perspective on obviously a lot of it applies to the Mormon church because that's really the only church I've ever been to, but it's just kind of about religion in general. And I'm sure there's a good portion of you that want to hear a bit more of the hot goss, the tea, and are looking for a little bit more of a kind of like a bashing, hating video that you often get on the internet, very clickbaity, slandering, religion, and I feel like there's a pretty strong culture around that for people who used to be LDS or Mormon. That's not what this video is, so that's what you're hoping for. I recommend finding another video because I think you'll be pretty disappointed. I don't really have any intentions of rejoining the Mormon church, and if I do, it's kind of under the understanding that the church can bring a lot of good things from it, and those are some things that I will likely touch on in this video and probably some following videos, because honestly I don't think I can fit it all in one video. So today we're just gonna kind of do a little brain dump of my thoughts on spirituality since I've left the Mormon church. And really quick, if you want to take a peek at Sally, she freaking loves this spot. No, you don't need to see her peeing. We can give her some privacy. Oh no, she's got the zoomies. Where's she going? Yeah. Yeah. You're so fast. Yeah, you are. Just down by the creek, looking a little barren because it's fall. Okay, so I actually just this year, I would say I've become quite a spiritual person. Kind of depends on where you want to start it. And I think for the sake of this video, I won't go super in depth into how I got here. I could do that for another video because I have so many thoughts. I want to share just a bit more about my experiences of leaving the Mormon church. And I want to start by saying religion serves a purpose in this world. Everything does, if you think about it. Even things like drugs and addiction and capitalism and, all of the things that we can argue till we're blue in the face have goodness or badness to them, or both. Religion is one of those that can have both. I mean, being run by human beings, we are always imperfect. So there's a lot of imperfections in religion, but it serves a purpose. So I've always stood by the fact that it is such a great system for getting support, building community, finding purpose in life. Depending on how it's delivered, it I mean, I would hope that it would be fulfilling the ultimate purpose, which is like to have a greater relationship with God or a higher power, or spirit who might be guiding you in life, or your spirit guides, or however you define the existential entity or entities that can give you direction. And that's kind of more of like really what I've settled on as like the foundation of my opinion, is whether or not this actually fulfills the higher purpose, which is building a relation, in some cases it's building a relationship with God, or a higher power, or like helping you be in a place spiritually so you can feel the Spirit, or as the Mormons will say, the Holy Ghost. And I first want to define that too. This is relevant for me because I don't feel like attached to a specific church, so I don't have specific terms that I would use. I just use whatever language like makes sense for the people around me. But like feeling the Spirit is like that feeling of calm and peace. A lot of times there's like a knowing, like I know what I'm hearing or what I'm saying is true. And not just like as simple as the sky being blue, because there's like a level of detachment from that, I think, because it is like a cold scientific fact, whereas this is like a spiritual fact, if you will. Like this knowing is, it feels more personal. Like, even though I might be knowing about the universe or the people around me, which I think it's all connected. We're all made of the same atoms and energy and whatnot. So it doesn't matter who I'm having this knowing about, because it's all connected. The knowing feels personal. It feels like way closer to home than the sky being blue. So then the lens that I've looked at things through, I mean, initially it was just, does this structure, this organization serve a purpose? Yeah. I mean, it gives people, comfort on like losing family members because they believe in an afterlife and they know they'll see them again, or things like that. And it has now evolved into, does it serve the goal that they claim to be helping bring you towards, to support you on your journey in? Especially as I've had thoughts about going either back to the Mormon church or finding another church. I did revisit the Mormon church a couple of years ago. I may touch on that in this video, but I'll likely put that in another one, just to try to stay on task here, because I'm feeling a bit scatterbrained. So this idea of, if we go to church to strengthen our relationship with a higher power, or like the Spirit, or to be, it's like spiritual hygiene. Let's just simplify it into spiritual hygiene. It's like a spiritually hygienic practice. And that's the purpose that it serves, right? Or, claims to serve. Which is a really interesting thing to put into perspective, because, for example, my mom loves going to the church that she's at now, because her pastor is, very well studied with very relevant degrees, that he's able to like really read and understand the Bible, which is, it can be a pretty complex text to read. I don't know, I just fell from that tree, but can be a pretty complex text to read. So having somebody alongside to read that understands and knows like this historical context that can help explain what's happening is beneficial. And she likes that. She likes studying the Bible, and that's how she gets a lot of answers to her prayers. that like that helps her in her relationship to God, and the spiritual hygiene, the connected to spirit or spirit guides, whoever gives you guidance, or I guess technically God, right? Depends on however your religion defines that. Receiving guidance and connection to something greater than you, right? So the spiritual hygiene, that serves a purpose for her in what her practice is. And what I've learned is there's a lot of places that you can feel, we can just use, spirit, right? I feel like at least for that, everybody generally knows what I'm referencing, that feeling of calm and knowing and peace and groundedness that you often get when you're like connected to the universe or God or receiving answers. So, hold on. Where is I going with that? Spirit. Oh, okay. So what I've noticed then is like, now that I'm like spiritual without being affiliated with a church, I've noticed so much more like the times that I am feeling spirit or the Holy Ghost. And it's everywhere. I mean, my mom has said, she found God in an AA room. Like you can have these like spiritual experiences anywhere that's not specific to a church. And I initially found them, really in the trees. This channel is actually technically the start of like the really intentional start of my spiritual journey. That's where this channel came from. So that's why there's a lot of references to the trees. And right now the name is Tori and Sally and the trees, because it's me and my pup out here. And it felt like I was like being offensive by referencing the trees as being like my church. And I'm, a more devoted worshiper than those you find in a church. And it was because it felt like it boiled everything away. Everything that's like a distraction. What are you supposed to wear? How you should or shouldn't be speaking, what you can or can't do on a Sunday, or whatever it is, like whatever rules or guidance, who you can or cannot marry. A lot of that just feels like a distraction. And I said that even before I left the Mormon churches. I didn't understand why so much time was spent on what we can or cannot be doing, or what we should or should not be doing. And not more so on like, I don't know, how to actually like be a grounded person and like feel aligned in your purpose in life and aligned with whoever your higher power is, or whoever gives you that spiritual guidance, like that spiritual hygiene. Like that's what we should be talking about. And the thing that drove me crazy is I'm like, this can happen anywhere. Like you can get answers from anywhere. You don't need to walk around with a Bible or whatever religious text. You don't have to be in a church and hear from a spiritual leader, right? You can get these answers from anywhere. And I've often thought about like the dangers of having somebody who says, I receive revelation for you. I receive God's answers for you. because we're imperfect human beings, like there is so many points in this process that can go wrong. Like, especially if you think about communication. I mean, some people think in words and some people think in pictures and some think in both. So like the way that we receive information, digest it and regurgitate it can already transform the meaning of what's being communicated. And on top of that, I'm giving it to somebody who needs to be able to receive it, digest it, and understand it, like in the way that it was initially intended to be communicated. Like there's so many steps in that can go wrong, that can have things that like muddle or totally change the meaning of the message, right? And I wrote something in my philosophy class. I can't remember which philosopher that we were reading at the time. I hope the leaves aren't too loud. I mean, I don't really care because I want to be outside, but hopefully it's not too loud. Can't remember what philosopher we were reading at the time, but I was writing about how building your foundation, your spiritual foundation, your ethical, your moral foundation on a dogma, on a religion, is like building your foundation on a sand. There's no stability in that because it takes one big rainfall for that to wipe away the very ground that your foundation is built on. Like, that's not a secure, well-grounded foundation. And you know, if there's a God, if there's a judgment day, then you have to look this person in the face and what if this entity says, oh, that church was wrong, the one that you've been following. What are you going to say? Well, but I followed them so perfectly, so I deserve to be in this heaven, right? This is all like, you know, with the asterisk of one, what, you know, this thought process is entertaining that these things are true. I'm not saying they are or aren't. Obviously, nobody fully knows. Second, I want that hopefully you're able to translate that into whatever religion is applicable for you. Right? Like having this idea of, if I am to answer for my actions, I can't point at an organization and say, it's okay that I did that because that church made me made me do it, right? Or they said this is the way to heaven. They said this is the most righteous way to live. Like that is not a solid foundation. If it feels true to you, I mean, that's the beauty. I think philosophy should be like a core class, because it teaches you how to think critically. That's the beauty of being an independently thinking, critically thinking entity, is that we can receive information and then we can sift through it and decide that feels true or not true for me. And I want to add a little caveat in there, because there's a lot of belief systems that are ingrained into us from an early age. So critical thinking is including the fact that we can hold conflicting pieces of information and work through that thought process and come to a decision about that information and how to, like, what to keep, what not to keep, what to live by, you know, like doing it without this judgment and having that awareness of like, oh, I have these biases, so no wonder why this didn't resonate as true at first. Like, to really chew on this information more than a couple seconds, right? I mean, a lot of this like truth feeling that we get, you know, feeling the spirit, the guidance from a higher power, is in the moment. So you don't need usually more than a few seconds, but sometimes we can receive information and filter it through the filters that we were predisposed to having from family, church, religion, and deciding it is or isn't true, right? So, circling back, really, this is actually a tangent to what I had started talking about was, I mean, what I've found to be important is what people and what practices are teaching me, like spiritual, you know, are a good part of like my spiritual hygiene, are teaching me spiritual hygiene, or how to be, you know, open to receiving guidance from the other side, the universe, the trees, like whoever it is that we receive guidance from, right? Like, and the beauty of having simple, like a very simplified religious structure. Let's not even talk about religious structures in this context. The beauty of having a simplified spiritual hygiene practice is there's no getting lost in the sauce. I mean, I was even saying to my mom, I was like, I love that you love studying the Bible. Like, that's like a fun hobby. I was like, I would struggle having that, because How do you know, like, for sure that you're not just getting, like, lost in the interpretation of the text, right? How do you stay focused on the fact that this is meant to be like a communication channel, just a designated time that you're sitting down and the universe or whoever your higher power is can communicate things to you, especially if you're asking for them, you're asking questions, you're asking for guidance or whatever. So I felt promptings. I mean, I already feel like hesitant to say this because religion is such a sensitive topic, because it is very personal for people, and there's no there's no scientific foundation to it, so there's like no way to truly say if something is or isn't true, right? So it's all based off of, and there's a lot of identity tied into it. So yeah, you get what I'm saying, sensitivity. So I'm hesitating saying this because people are going to have strong opinions. Not that I can't handle the strong opinions, but because people in my personal life have found my YouTube channel. So I know that they will have, that may change the way that they view me or interact with me or even want to connect with me, right? So the hope is that there's open-mindedness, that the ultimate goal is we're all just trying to practice spiritual hygiene so we can live the life that we feel is honorable, that if there's a judgment day, we can stand there and say, I stand by the life that I lived. I did the best that I could. I made my choices authentically and honorably and genuinely. So I stumbled on the practice of using tarot cards, and they're not even traditional tarot cards. They're just like an artist's rendition of different mushrooms in different settings. So there's not like a lot to go off of. And even the book, there's only usually like a sentence or two that gives you some guidance on it if you really like need some help interpreting it. And at first I didn't like that because I was like, oh man, like I need more direction on what this is. But over time, I started to appreciate the simplicity of it, because then I wasn't busy reading an entire book about what this could or couldn't be meaning. I didn't need someone or something outside of me telling me what is being communicated to me. All I had to do is sit there and look at these pictures and notice what I felt. Notice what moved within me, and notice what came to mind. The simplicity of that, because that's the whole point, right? Is just to have this communication, that we are these spirits in a body. We are these spiritual entities that are connected to each other, the universe, the freaking trees, and potentially a higher power or multiple higher powers or spirit guides. Some people who are not residing on this earth with a physical body that we can see with our eyeballs. Like if that's the whole point, then I love the simplicity of it, because all I need is to be tuned in. That's it, dude. That's all. So, I mean, pretty much my soapbox. I really expected to have this video be a little bit more of an in-depth analysis. So, seems like that's going to end up in a different video. Really, I mean, my soapbox about religion and spiritual practices and whatnot is this framework of what leaves me primed to feeling more connected spiritually, especially to myself. Like, I mean, that really should be a big part of religious teachings or just spiritual teachings, is like how to be connected to yourself and consistently, not like how to do it periodically when you have to, like how to live consistently connected to yourself. Because how are you going to feel the spirit? How are you going to feel your spirit move, when something is moving you? Like, how are you going to feel that if you're disconnected from yourself? Okay, that's another soapbox. But when I look at religion through this lens, or whatever people use for their spiritual practice, reading the Bible, praying, tarot cards, I don't know, witchcraft and spells. At the end of the day, if the goal is, first of all, who am I to even say what the goal is? I'm not telling people what their goal should or should not be. But in this realm, okay, if we're in this realm of religious practices, which is an external person or organization that's communicating to you what you should or should not be doing, especially in the terms of spirituality, ethics, and morals, technically the ultimate goal should be, how do I stay tuned in and connected, right, to whatever it is, fill in the blank for your religious beliefs. I've just noticed a lot of it really is unnecessary. So much of it is unnecessary and provides opportunities that really interrupt what what guidance you can be receiving, especially in the terms of like love. That's like one of the easiest ones to talk about and potentially controversial. In this realm is like, okay, if the spirit moves me to love all of the living beings around me, but then a religious entity says, okay, but these people are bad, they're sinful. That means I'm going to remove my love from them, right? Not that means you have to walk around and be abundant and unconditional in love everywhere you go with every person. Boundaries are healthy, okay? I'm not arguing that. But there's just so many opportunities for religion to get in the way of spirituality, and that's my soapbox. That's my soapbox. But if it doesn't for you, and that is the easiest practice, I get it. We're human beings. We go for the easiest route no matter what. Like, it's a part of who we are. So accepting who we are helps us actually choose a lifestyle that works for us. And that includes having religious practices or spiritual practices that like actually work for you. Yes, please do it. Like I'm encouraging, religion being a part of your spiritual hygiene practice. But I also want to encourage you to have some practices that are independent from that. And it doesn't have to be like anything that's connected to spirituality at all. Like, or religion, I mean. Yes, connected to spirituality, because that's the point, right? It doesn't even have to be connected to religion. So you don't have to have a Bible or a special way of praying or tarot cards or whatever. Just having like a designated time that you go for a walk once a week. And the whole point is I'm going to ponder on the things that I want some guidance on. And I encourage you, I don't know why this is jumping out, so I encourage you to incorporate this, is who can I show love to today? Who can I help today? Like, help open my eyes to the people around me who can benefit from my love and help, But obviously you don't have to do that. This is, I wholeheartedly believe, as this video clearly communicates, in following, I'm sure it's so dark, I don't even know if you can see me anymore, but following what feels true for you, what moves your spirit, what keeps you connected and aligned. I do really want to go a bit more into specifics of like the Mormon church and some things that I've taken from it and the things that just some more thoughts on it, right? I'm not going to outline everything because who knows if I'll cover it all, but I do want to get a little bit more specific. This was just generals about spirituality. So I'd love to make another video. So hit that subscribe if you want some notification of when I post that. And if things in this video move you, like give me a little comment or something. I want to be connected to some more people who are just like spiritually open, and not like specifically tied down to my jacket's caught on this. Fine. So people who are spiritually open and not just connected to a religion. It's okay if you are, but just who are like spiritually, I don't know, I want to say like open-hearted, but like, spiritually opened, because I don't necessarily have like a spiritual community at this point in time. I'm grateful for like the people in my family because they are more spiritually open. So I do have them, but I want to get connected with more people. So let me know what resonated. And if you had any questions or thoughts or concerns or compliments, all are welcomed and appreciated, whether or not I respond. And I'm going to tune back in with y'all later. I do want to send you off with a whole lot of love, though. A whole lot of love. I hope there's a little bit of light left so you can see me when I say this. I want to send you off with so much love and like the biggest, fattest hug I can possibly give you. And you don't have to receive that. It's consensual, right? But I'm going to send it in case you do want it. And I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Say bye, Sally.